Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing very well. It's time for the next part of our series of Caps Have Donut Legacy Early Cold War Fighters that we need to see in DCS. Today is a very special one. It's the General Dynamics F-111 Aardvark. Seriously cool vehicle. So before we get onto the official stuff, as ever it's done by Ivan. All the work is done by Ivan. I'm just the monkey. This has real special connotations for me. I remember in the early to mid 90s and late 80s, it was always a big hit at the air shows. RAF Mildenhall, RAF Alconbury, RAF Lakenheath. We'd have shows with this plane, and it wasn't that it was particularly maneuverable, because it wasn't. It was just the utter spectacle of such a big, heavy plane going so bloody fast, making so much noise. I remember it was along with the Starfighter, it was always the loudest, and the F4 Phantom was the loudest plane, and just impressive all round to see. Big thunder chunky thing with two pilots sitting side by side. You know, there just wasn't that much that was cooler, and they would do their jet burn, as you can see. We'll see later on their fuel burn. Just very impressive for a youngster to see. So, the General Dynamics F-111 Aardvark is an American supersonic, medium-range interdictor and tactical attack aircraft that also filled the roles of strategic nuclear bomber, aerial reconnaissance, because obviously there were many versions of this, and electronic warfare aircraft in its various versions. Developed in the 1960s by General Dynamics, it first entered service in 1967, which you got to think how early that is. That's, you know, before Tomcat, before, you know, anything. With the USAF. The Royal Australian Air Force also ordered the type and began operating the F-111Cs in 1973. The F-111 pioneered several technologies for production aircraft, including variable sweep wings, afterburning turbofan engines, and automated terrain-following radar for low-level, high-speed flight. Its design influenced later variable sweep wing aircraft, and some of its advanced features have since become commonplace. In the 1950s, the United States Navy sought a long-range, high-endurance interceptor, so yep, this is going to be pre-Tomcat, aircraft to protect its carrier battle groups against long-range anti-ship missiles from Soviet jet bombers and submarines. The Navy needed a fleet of air defense FAD fighters with a more powerful radar and longer range missiles than the F-4 Phantom II to intercept both enemy bombers and missiles. The USAF F-111 variants were retired in the 1990s, sadly, with the F-111Fs in 1996 and the EF Ravens in 1998. The F-111 was replaced in USAF service by the F-15E Strike Eagle for medium-range precision strike munitions, while the supersonic bomber role has been assumed by the B-1B Lancer. You can see pictures here pulling high G or relatively high alpha with wings, I think, fully back, and doing the well-known jet fuel and burn of the Aardvark. Really impressive to see. Great picture. Another burn there. You can see the fuel coming out and then it lights kind of further back there. Pretty awesome. Origins. It was NASA's simplification which made the variable geometry wings practical. By 1960, increases in aircraft weight required improved high-lift devices such as variable geometry wings. Variable geometry offered high speeds and maneuverability with heavier payloads, long range, and the ability to take off and land in shorter distances. The F-111A and B variants use the same airframe structural components and the Pratt & Whitney TF-30P1 turbofan engines. They featured side-by-side crew seating in an escape capsule as required by the Navy. So rather than, you know, an ejector seat and a man coming out with an ejector seat, that entire capsule came out. I don't know if anyone ever ejected or if we got it on film, but that would be a cool thing to see. The F-111B's nose was 8.5 feet shorter, so as to fit an existing carrier elevated decks, and had 3.5 foot longer wingtips to improve on-station endurance time. The Navy version would carry an AN Orc-9, so think Tomcat, Orc-9 pulse Doppler radar, and AIM-54 Phoenix missiles. Wow, I didn't know that. So the Navy version, well, essentially would have carried the Phoenix. The Air Force version The Air Force version would carry AN/APQ-113 attack radar and the AN/APQ-110 terrain following radar and air-to-ground armament. Lacking experience with carrier-based fighters, General Dynamics teamed with Grumman for the assembly and testing of the F-111B aircraft. In addition, Grumman would also build the F-111A's aft fuselage and landing gear. The General Dynamics and Grumman team faced ambitious requirements for the range, weapon payload, and aircraft weight. The F-111 design also included new features on a production military aircraft such as variable geometry wings and afterburning turbofan engines. Production ended in 1976 after 563 F-111 aircraft were built. You can just see how friggin' cool it looks. I always love the kind of slightly upturned nose. It kind of made it kind of pig-looking, and I like that. And one interesting thing, it's kind of twin engines and a bit like the Tomcat and swept wings like the Tomcat, but it had a single tail fin, which always really marked it out as something different. The wing sweep varied between 16 degrees and 72.5 degrees, full forward to full wing sweep. The wing included leading edge slats and double slotted flaps over its full length. The F-111's variable geometry wings, escape capsule, terrain following radar and afterburning turbofans were new technology for production aircraft. Here we have the cockpit. So I've never actually looked at a side-by-side cockpit like this, but it almost reminds me of kind of, Huey, UH-1 in DCS. It's not multi-crew yet, but it will be soon. And so you're going to have kind of two side-by-side, or Gazelle, side-by-side guys looking at essentially the same dash, which is frigging just cool. Brings us such a new feature. And rear and front is cool in the Tomcat, don't get me wrong, but this would be even better. Okay, so I'm going to assume, I have never seen this before, I'm going to assume that's pilot on the left and weapons on the right there. Radar.
Interesting fact about the module: when it ejects, it takes batteries with it, and you can carry on using the radios. They also have weapons in the back and food for I think 2 to 3 days, from what I remember.
Wow, that's amazing. Super comfort. So here we've got the old version, so I don't know what that is, an A or whatever. And here we've got a later version, so I don't know if that's a C or an F or whatever, I just don't know. But you can see MFDs in place and various upgrades. General, someone just said it reminds me of Intruder in the stream. It's, yeah, kind of like the Intruder on steroids, basically. General characteristics: 2, pilot and weapon system officer. Length 73 feet, massive. Wingspan 63 feet, massive. Swept 32 feet. Height 17 feet, massive. Wing area 657 feet and swept 525. Empty weight, it's a heavy son of a gun. 47,000 pounds unloaded, empty weight, whereas an F-15 is like 34,000 or something like that. It shows how heavy this thing was. Loaded weight, 82,000 pounds. So it's up there with the Su-33 or maybe even more. It's incredibly heavy. Max takeoff weight, oh no, wow, it's even heavier. 100,000 pounds, so that's much heavier than a flanker or something like that. 20% heavier. Incredibly large. Power plant, 2 times Pratt & Whitney TF, really big TF30 P100 turbofans. I'm not sure if they changed throughout the versions. You'll have to let me know, with a drive thrust of 18,000 pounds each and afterburner of 25,000 pounds thrust. So it's one of the reasons it was so fast. Performance, and one of the stunning things about this plane is that the maximum speed was Mach 2.5. So it's amongst one of the fastest planes ever built. Yeah. Nothing to say. It's as fast as an F-15, which is just crazy. If you think this is a 60s aircraft, then it's just amazing. Faster than a Tomcat. Does that speed actually really matter? Not really, but it just shows how impressive technology of the time was. And more importantly, you might say Mach 1.2 at sea level, which is what it would have actually used to get out of the way once it drops its bombs. Ferry range 3,700 miles. Which is high and good. Service ceiling 66,000 feet, which is really good. Rate of climb 26,000 feet, which is meh, but it's it's not an interceptor in that way. Thruster weight 0.61, which is low, pretty much normal for the time for the 60s. It is low, but it didn't slow it down in terms of top speed. Armament 1 times 20 mil Mike 61A1 Vulcan cannon, which is used pretty much. In all contemporary fighters. Gatling gun in weapons bay, seldom fitted. Oh, okay. I thought it was fitted in the fuselage, but no, weapons bay. And that's another thing to mention. We had a bomb bay in this, didn't we, guys?
Yeah, I think so.
I remember it would knife edge past the crowd with its bomb bay open. I think I'm right in saying that. Hard points 9 in total, 8 under the wing, 1 times under fuselage between the engines, plus 2 attached points in the weapons bay with a capacity of 31. Wow, 31,000 pounds. What a beast! What a beast this thing is. Missiles: AGM-69. SRAM thermonuclear air-to-surface missile. Wow, I've never heard this was a thing. That needs looking into. Interesting. AGM-130. Again, I don't know it. Standoff bomb. That sounds interesting. Needs looking up. Bombs. Free-for-all general purpose, including the Mark 82, Mark 83, Mark 84, and Mark 117, which is the older version. Cluster bombs. BLU-109, hardened penetration bomb. Paveway laser-guided bombs included the 2,000 pounds, GBU-10, GBU-12, so the normal GBUs, and 28. Well, I haven't seen a GBU-28 before. It's a penetration 2.2 ton, 5,000 pound bomb. Wow. Imagine if we ever got that. That's a thump knocker, that is. We've got the Durandals for the runway cratering. We have a similar thing with the Mirage, not quite the same. GBU-15 electro-optical bomb. So anyone know what GBU-15 is?
It is a glide weapon to destroy high-value enemy targets. It was designed for use for the strike eagle. It has long-range maritime anti-ship capability.
One thing we've missed here somehow is Bravo 61 and 43 nuclear bombs, which was key to its capability in the 1960s. I remember these kind of shoulder cornices here in front of the wings. I remember them specifically. Next, we're on to the F-111 Aardvark story. How an unarmed F-111 downed an enemy without firing a shot. The F-111 Aardvark didn't have a lot of air-to-air kills. It just wasn't designed to be in aerial combat. It was a supersonic, a nuclear bomber, and recon plane. But a fighter, it is not. These EF-111A Ravens didn't have defences if they were attacked in the air. When the United States and its coalition allies launched Operation Desert Storm in 1991, it's safe to say it took Saddam Hussein's Iraqi army and air force by surprise. The opening minutes surprised a lot of people, and no one more so than USAF pilot James Denton and electronic warfare officer Brent Brandon, as well as the Iraqi Mirage pilot who was trying to shoot their two-seater EF-111A down. The Raven came under attack from an Iraqi Dassault Mirage fighter in the first minutes of Desert Storm, January 17th, 1991. For the Iraqi, the Raven was a great target of opportunity, big and, big target to get. He had just evaded an F-15C and managed to enter through the screen of F-15, F-16 fighters that were supposed to be escorting the Raven. The Iraqi attempted to shoot the Raven down with missiles, but well-timed chaff and flares took care of the enemy incoming. When missiles didn't work, the Mirage switched to guns. Brandon switched from countermeasure to piloting skills. The Raven was originally flying just 1,000 feet above the desert floor, so Denton decided to take it lower and use the plane's terrain-following radar to stay above the desert and not to fly into the ground. The Iraqi pilot wasn't so lucky. As Denton and Brandon tag-teamed their way above the terrain, Denton saw his opportunity. Banking hard into a climb that took him well above the desert, the Iraqi, so focused on his target and not the terrain below, slammed hard into the ground, exploding into a fireball that lit up the night. It was the first F-111 aerial kill in the airframe's history. It would end up being the only aerial kill for the F-111, and it was done without so much as a weapon from the American plane. And that's the end. One conflict I remember was the Libyan attack, where the USAF attacked Libya. Now, I forgot the date, and it's something we'll have to do in a video at some point. And what I believe happened was the Aardvarks that were bombing at that point, they either came from United States to RAF, I think it was Lakenheath in England, or they were already at Lakenheath, I can't remember. But they had to transit from Lakenheath down to, North Africa, down to Libya, and which is a long way with God knows how many refueling stops along the way, delivered bombs on the target in Libya, and then flew back. And I remember by then they were pretty old airframes, they were all built in the 60s and early 70s. So they were all falling apart and breaking down. Half of them, I think, broke down. But anyway, we'll learn that properly and do some proper stories on that at some point. That's the F-111. I hope you agree with me. It's amazing because, again, 60s, so fast, so amazing, so unique. in just about everything that it did. So many firsts that were completed by it. I think it deserves the time and effort that it was going to require to get it done properly in DCS. So here's operating from a carrier. Yeah, amazing. Now, I remember they were cancelled from the carrier for I think airframe problems or something. I can't remember what it was, but Roger.
According to Wikipedia, I don't know if it's still true, but it's been the heaviest aircraft to land and take off from a carrier.
Wow. I'm watching the video on the escape module. So 60s. There he goes. Look, to space. Cap wants a friggin' escape module in DCS. Let him have it. And that's a cool piece of kit. Big parachute. You can have a little party in this escape module. It's awesome. The Boeing AGM-69 SRAM short-range attack missile was a nuclear air-to-surface missile. It had a range of up to 50 nautical miles. It was intended to allow US Air Force strategic bombers to penetrate Soviet airspace through neutralization of surface-to-air missiles defense systems. SRAM anti-service in 1972 was carried by, including B-52, F-111A, B-1B. September 1980, ground fire raised concerns about the safety of the warhead, and in 1990 they were temporarily removed from service while the check was carried out. We've got a 17 kiloton fission or a 210 kiloton fusion warhead options.
I'm just wondering how much faster it would go if they put proper engines in it.
Well, they're pretty powerful. £25,000 is, you know.
Yeah, but aren't the TF-30s the same engines that they put in the
first Tomcat?
Tomcat A version?
Fair point. I wonder if they had any stalls like they did in the F-14, because they were obviously had a lot of stalls, didn't they?
Probably not, because it's not an aircraft that was designed to be a fighter.
Roger.
I mean, it's the same as the Viggen. The Viggen's got an airliner engine as well, and if you push the Viggen too hard and try and dogfight in the Viggen, you get compressor stalls.
Yeah, that's true.
Terrible.
I guess same kind of time, 60s. Guided Bomb Unit 15 is an unpowered glide bomb to destroy high-value enemy targets. It was designed with the F-15 strike. So these must be quite old then, way before JSOW, I'm guessing. F-111 Aardvark and F-4 Phantom II. The GBU has long-range maritime anti-ship capability with the B-52 Stratofortress. So very interesting bombs. Lovely piece of history. Love to see it. Any final thoughts on the Aardvark, guys? Apart from the fact it deserves a better name than the Aardvark. Go see it at Duxford. Yeah, absolutely. We'll be doing a meet in Duxford soon in the summer. Details are on our Facebook page and whatnot. We'll see you there and we'll go and have a play with it. Hope you enjoyed that and see you later.